What's with the bottle?
Shoot the other day about Ingolosiao. Boom, but that's something I've never seen before. Okay, right, starts walking. It's following the signs. Yo. Maga figure out since man, they've been waiting for him. It was never about the wings, Mfano. It's the fire in you.
I was heard many years ago when Jacob Zuma came out, actually confirming my doubts, because I used to say from really quite early that, guys, I've got a feeling that our government wants to see black people poor and uneducated. And a few years later, Jacob Zuma confirmed when he started criticizing what he called clever blacks. Yeah. Whereas I expected in 1994, when I voted for them, to produce clever blacks.
This is the Hustler's Corner.
Hello world, hustlers and squatters. Welcome to the Hustlers Corner virtual Mkhukhu on the Hustlers Corner platform. Guys, go straight to the description and click a link that takes you to our brand new podcast, Virtual Mkhukhu. We'd like for you to go subscribe there so you become a part of our family. Family tradition here, we go straight to the shop sign on the count of 1, 2, 3. Click that like button, click. Thank you. Let's go to that subscription button as well, click. Don't forget to switch on the notification bell so that you get to know when we are dropping brand new videos. Coming at you live from Rosebank at the Clicco Boutique Hotel in Sandton, Johannesburg, South Africa. The Accidental Mayor, that's the book that we have today. Now, my guest today is quite exciting because the previous time I interviewed him on Massive Metro, he brought the entire radio station a copy of his book the day after, and he actually didn't just send his team, he came himself. Like, how do you come to a place twice? The first time you give people 2 hours of your time to interview you, the next time you come back the following day, he gave us a box full of his books the previous time, and I'm glad that I read that book. And then a beautiful coincidence happens today. Another invite. He's got a brand new book, The Accidental Mayor. Before I get into it, let me introduce my brother, Mr. Penuel, the Black Pen.
Geez, Buddha, thank you very much. Honored today. You know, I know it's a new setting because of the weather in Joburg and because of winter. I think I'm slightly nervous, inspired by our guest today, because there's a chance that he could be a potential future president for this country, and we might be documenting a piece of his history and our country's history at large.
How many people out there do you think agree with you?
I think we'll see it in 2024, to be honest. So,
the Accidental Mayor, Mr. Herman Mashaba in the Battle of Johannesburg. Michael Beaumont, to help put together this book, he collaborated. He'll tell us a little bit more about who Mr. Michael Beaumont is, who is quoted as saying, or it's actually Jenny Chris Williams who's quoted as saying, open quote, one of the most absorbing books I've read in ages. Brave, bolshy, blunt, and inspirational. That's Jennifer Chris Williams. I think a lot of us would remember her from 702 Days. Michael Beaumont, a little bit about him, was born and raised in Durban, educated at Michael House and Rhodes University, served as DA for 9 years, Democratic Alliance for 9 years. He was serving there, working as provincial managing director and campaigns manager for KZN and Gauteng provinces. Mr. Herman Mashaba appointed him as his chief of staff in the city of Joburg. After the collapse of the Johannesburg coalition government in 2019, Beaumont joined Mr. Mashaba in his brand new movement, the People's Dialogue, with the goal of setting up a new political alternative in South Africa, which is now known as Action SA. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome an entrepreneur who built a brand back in the 80s. We're doing it now and it's tough. He did it back in the days of apartheid, succeeded as a businessman, he's a family man. He was just telling us that he's just celebrated his 40th anniversary in marriage. Congratulations,
come on,
sir.
Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Herman Mashaba.
Thank you so very much, Penuel and Sbu, for this engagement. I remember the last time I engaged with you guys was one of those motivational engagement. Motivational because I think for you guys as the youth of this country, You are the future of our country. And I look at 28 years of our democracy, how it has destroyed our youth, particularly black. I think it hurts me every time I go into our communities. I look at how this government has destroyed the entrepreneurial spirit of our people. People are just really laughing. But you gave me hope, and you keep giving me hope, because I do follow you guys from time to time. And I'm saying, how do we double up or triple up and ensure that we don't allow this communist to really bring this kind of system that is there to destroy us? Because unfortunately, communism is there to oppress society. Because in a communist environment, success is not allowed. Someone like you in a communist environment, I can tell you, Stalin would have long mad at you. No, it's absolutely.
You mean is that the reason why Ali Baba disappeared in China?
Or Mao Zedong, or the Cuban one, what's his name? Fidel Castro. No, in the communist system does not allow the development of other people. They want everyone to be the same, but to be the same but poor and uneducated. So that is actually quite sad about the communist system. Whereas I believe in clever blacks. That's why I just couldn't. And you know, I was heard many years ago when Jacob Zuma came out, actually confirming my doubts, because I used to say from really quite early that, guys, I've got a feeling that our government wants to see black people poor and uneducated. And a few years later, Jacob Zuma confirmed when he started criticizing what he called clever blacks. Yeah. Whereas I expected in 1994, when I voted for them, to produce clever blacks.
So obviously that's the middle class. I'll just throw in two short questions and I'll hand it over to Penuel. The first one being, when he was introducing you there, he spoke about you being a potential future president of the country. I'd like to hear your opinions on that one. And then number two, if I pick up this book, or when I do go to Exclusive Books or any one of the outlets and I pick up the Accidental Mayor, brand new book by Mr. Herman Mashaba, The Battle of Johannesburg, what should I expect from this book?
Well, the book actually, what it does, it captured the 3 years of my tenure as a mayor of the city of Johannesburg. The difficulties I encountered running a 7-way coalition arrangement, a city with 170 billion rands backlog, 300,000 housing backlog, informal settlements, squatter camps, basically. They call them informal settlements. They think by calling them informal settlements.
It makes it seem better.
No, it seems better.
The squatter camps.
The squatter camps. ANC determined to collapse my government, but they succeeded eventually in 2019 when they started having secret meetings with the DA to remove me, because the DA, when they made a mistake when they invited me, they didn't know who Herman Mashaba was, you know, because obviously I was critical of what was happening in government, and I made it clear in 2014 that I'm voting for the DA. So they approached me to be the mayoral candidate, and obviously ended up being appointed a mayor on the 22nd of August 2016. But then my approach from the beginning was to respect all the parties, was to ensure that we provide the services to all the communities, particularly the poor communities. Unfortunately, this did not go down well with the DA. Why I should take what they said to me? Why must I take the residents' money into poor communities? And that created a challenge between a conflict between the DA and I. And because I grew up in an environment where, you know, people like myself, we used to be called cheeky blacks. I don't know if you guys know what a cheeky black is. You guys know what a cheeky black is? Yeah, cheeky black.
I know a cheeky black. You speak black, you speak back to the boss.
You know, cheeky black is a black who doesn't listen or comply. Yeah,
rebellious.
They used to call us cheeky blacks. So obviously, you know, the DA thought I was a cheeky black. And when they started having secret meetings with the ANC to come out with a motion of no confidence to remove me, they did not realize that I was well connected. You know, I'm very connected. So I got to know about the secret meetings and then obviously informed South Africa. I said, look, guys, there are these secret meetings to remove me, and I'm not the kind of person who's pushed around. For me, being a mayor is the last thing in the world I want. Therefore, if this group of DA people who are having the secret discussions do succeed to take over the DA, I'm out of here. And that's exactly what happened on the 21st of October 2019. Remember, I called a press conference. I stepped down. I think not pushed, because I think for me, being a mayor, I mean, I left a very successful business to save the country from the ANC. So this book relates all that. The deep level of corruption. You look at, it'll hurt you. I give an account of a lady in Alexander when I was campaigning, where this lady lived in an environment where people did not have toilets. And when I asked this lady, it was a lady that you'd really find in any boardroom, and I asked this lady, I said, how do you live in a place where there are no toilets? And she said to me, I've actually trained my body to go to toilet at work, home. And I remember in 2017, my first State of the City address, I really wanted to raise the consciousness of the councillors so that they understand the deep-rooted problems we're sitting with. When I raised this, the ANC the councillors laughed about this. And I got angry, and I said, guys, how do you laugh about such a serious matter? I'm just relating this so that you understand the deep-rooted problems that we've got, that you can expect the human beings to train their body to only go to toilet at work. So what happens when you're at home? I mean, how can you reach a level of training your body to that level? That is really the deep-rooted problems that this country is facing, and it's actually quite sad. And so this book gives you a sense of all those issues and how DA was really very difficult in giving me the support. How the EFF, for some reason, when I took over, I was really very nervous, because you remember they didn't want me, but they ended up just voting with me, and they were the most supportive of all the coalition partners in this arrangement, because I treated them with respect from day one. Any report that I took to council, I will engage with them. Where we agreed, we'll agree. Where we don't agree, and I think with the EFF, where they disagreed with me, they'd always have a good argument as to why they did not agree with me, and ask me to go and revise a particular report. So I found them actually, I give credit to them, and I'm grateful for the support that they gave me. But it ended up obviously with the DA calling me an EFF mayor, which was really something that was really hateful for me, because I mean, EFF, if you look at their national policies, very far away from my own value system. I don't really believe in socialism. I don't really believe in communism. I'm a capitalist. Capitalism runs through my blood. I love the system. I mean, I started business in the dark days of this country's history. I was born in poverty. I was raised in a child-headed household by my sisters, with my mother working in Joburg as a domestic worker. But at the age of 22, I took a decision to liberate myself, and I used commerce as a vehicle to free myself. And by the time the new South Africa was born, I was relatively, in fact, probably one of the biggest black industrialists in this country, with a factory supplying products throughout Southern Africa and other parts of the world, listed. And actually not even, if you look at how I developed my marketing, I was approached by all the big retailers. I did not once approach a retailer to list my
Jeez.
product.
They came to you.
Whether it's Clicks or ShopRite or Pick and Pay, all were the ones who were saying, please, can we have your product? Because I marketed it. I did not want to rely on someone else. I was taught by my grandfather. My grandfather instilled into me to be self-reliant and not rely on other people. And here we are, 28 years down the line. I'm devastated. I'm literally sometimes I feel broken when I see the desperation of our people, where businesses in the townships which used to be run by black entrepreneurs against all odds, not reliant on government. Today we have tenderpreneurs, people who are driving the type of cars that capitalists like myself cannot afford. They drink.
But you've been rich for too long, so you can afford any car.
No, I can't. They drink. I look at this guy sometimes when I go into a restaurant and you see these tenderpreneurs. I mean, for me, and I'm not that I'm stingy. I mean, when I go into a restaurant, they give me a wine list. I look at the price, and these guys, no, you can see, my goodness, they'll drink a bottle of wine that's 4 or 5 times what I can afford. And you say to myself, my goodness. And I mean, these guys, just the other day, they were nobodies.
Yeah.
And they've never actually worked in their life and doing a proper work. Obviously, not that politics is not a proper work, but if people actually go into politics to make money, I mean, you don't expect politicians to be able to afford the best things in life than us capitalists.
But isn't it a good thing that people tend to work with the government, especially those who do good work, who are not involved in corrupt deals? And then also don't forget my other question about you being a future president.
Well, look, I think, for me, it's not really about being the president of the country. It's about saving the country from the ANC and put together a multi-party government. Whether I'm the president thereof or I serve in that government, for me, I think I'm working towards democratically the removal of the ANC and put together a government that we can hold accountable. To be honest with you, and my colleagues can tell you, I pray every day of my life to say, look, I'm 62, I'll be 63 in August. I'm really hoping that by the time I reach 70, I'm out of politics, I'm back in business, because to be honest with you, just Boo and Penuel, I hate this job. I hate it with a passion, because sometimes people tell me, Herman, do you enjoy this job? I said, how can one enjoy this brutal work? This political work is brutal. Every day you're in the media, most of the time for wrong reasons. I mean, just yesterday I read one of the papers, Mashaba in hot water. My goodness. And I read the article, how I'm being accused of buying some equipment to monitor people. My goodness, what the hell is this? I don't even know what, So these are things, and I mean, it's covered, and now media is calling me about this. How do I answer the things like this? So and what do I say to my kids? I don't want my kids to know me to really be a corrupt person, because I'm in politics to really fight corruption. I don't want my kids to really grow up in an environment where they can't differentiate between right and wrong. So my wish is come 2024, let's remove the ANC. Let's decide who becomes the government, because I don't really believe one party will win outright, but we will definitely have a government without the ANC. And the parties that have received the electoral mandate can then decide to form a government. If I'm not the president, that's actually fine for me, because I don't know what presidents actually do. Like when I took over as the mayor, honestly, people don't believe me. When I took over as the mayor, I had no clue whatsoever what a mayor does. But one thing that I was convinced about was that whatever most of the people can do, I always believe I can do it as well.
Yeah.
And I learned, and you'll see when you read this book how quickly I learned. So if it does happen that we find a young, energetic, committed South African who fears God, who believes in being able to differentiate between right and wrong, I'm happy to step aside and go back to making money, because making money for me, honestly, it makes me happy.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, no. If you want to really create excitement in Herman Mashaba's life, put him in an environment where he makes money. Because I don't know if you guys are aware that to be able to finish my matric, I mean, when I was doing Form 4 and 5, and Form 5 in 1977.
That's grade 11 and grade 12 to all of my 2000.
I took myself to school by gambling, playing dice.
Jeez.
Oh no. Oh yeah, no. Friday night, I was a Knoxman.
Number one Knoxman.
No. No, I was a very popular Knoxman. I mean, I used to be in gambling dens where school-going kids were not allowed. But for some reason, older people, the big gamblers, preferred my school. You know what a school is. They preferred my school because I've always been a disciplinarian. Because in a game of dice, every 5 minutes, if the Knoxman is a weak leader,
sure.
There'll always be a fight.
Sure.
Everyone is carrying a copies and whatever. So I developed that name in the gambling world. If you want proper professional gambling, professional outside obviously the law, because it was not allowed. Mashaba's school, there's discipline. I'll ban people from those who don't go. No. If you come in and bring your nonsense, I'll ban you from for some time, or sometimes I'll ban you forever. So I learned how to really run government, because running a school as an Knoxman is like running a government.
Now, when our current president, president was campaigning, I think the narrative out there was he's a businessman, he's somebody who's used to money, he's not gonna, you know what I mean? And you are outright saying before even running that you are an open capitalist. You don't believe in socialism, you don't believe in communism. Do you think people will vote for you?
Well, I think it's up to South Africans to really decide what kind of future they want for their children. And fortunate enough for us with Action SA, Action SA is founded on the foundations of a project called the People's Dialogue, which I launched on the 6th of December 2019 after resigning as a mayor, involving South Africans to see if we share the same values. Because when I announced the resignation, there was an outcry by South Africans calling on Mashaba to start his own political party. But then I wasn't really sure, firstly, of the numbers, and secondly, I did not want to make the same mistake joining the DA, thinking that the DA shares the same values as I do. So that's how the People's Dialogue was born. And 2.4 million South Africans gave me the mandate, written mandate. So we're a party that is actually has got a foundation of scientific 2.4 million South Africans who gave us the mandate. In fact, this was demonstrated by our electoral performance in last year's local government elections. If you look at the so-called analysts last year this time, I mean, they were saying we're a Stockfeld party.
That's true.
Honestly, very few. I'm not aware of any analysts who gave us a chance of ever doing anything. Actually, some of them that says, I'll be lucky if in Johannesburg we can have 3 councillors. Remember the IEC contested us as a logo. They refused to put
that.
They refused to put our logo on.
Yeah.
What happened today in the city of Johannesburg? We've got 44 councillors.
Jeez.
44 councillors. We're the third biggest political party in the city of Johannesburg. We've got 19 councillors in Tshwane. We've got 15 councillors in Ekurhuleni. We as Action SA are responsible for putting together this government, for the DA to govern in the 3 metros. It's Action SA. They put that government together. We're protecting it so that we remove the ANC from these big metros and these big passes. And yeah, will 2024 continue? I think it's going to really depends what we do between now and 2024. We are talking to people. We are on a campaign trail. I'm busy putting together the provincial structures, because come 2024, we are going to contest all 9 provinces. Something that I think I need to really bring to attention, which is really for me historic, and I'm immensely proud. We contested only 6 municipalities out of 278. I don't know if you guys are aware. We didn't contest all 278. I only contested 6 municipalities, strategic. And we picked up municipalities where we know we will take the ANC under 50%. I'm strategic. I don't just really do things of, you've got to operate strategically. The mission was to bring the ANC under 50%. In all 6 municipalities we contested, Johannesburg, we took the ANC down from 44% to 33%. I mean, the damage was huge. Yeah. We took them down from 48% to 38% in Ekurhuleni. We took them down from 43% to 34% in Tshwane. So you can see we did not play. We got them to lose Newcastle. Newcastle is...
I'm from Newcastle.
Is it?
Yes,
Newcastle,
I'm fully aware of what happened there.
We removed the ANC from government there. It's run by a multi-party government. eThekwini and KwaDukuza, we took them down under 50%, and obviously they brought some of the smaller parties to work with them. Sure. So in all of them, we removed them out of power. But what is more fundamental is that you can imagine the party contesting 6 municipalities, but then when you take national performance, we are the 6th biggest political party in the country.
Jeez.
6
big. My figures all when.
Well, the parties that have been there since 1994, or some of them for more than 20 years, contesting all over the country. We received over 550,000 votes in only 6 municipalities, contesting as a logo. Huh? So that shows our strategy actually worked, and it's going to work. We were strategic. I was focused like I did in 1985 when I started Black Like Me, because at the time, the apartheid government, they were saying to us as black people, we are nothing, we can't be trusted, and so forth. I used commerce to give people hope. Came out with a product called Black Like Me. And I remember
it's a beautiful line that
and I can tell you, critics, even in our communities, were saying, no, you're going to attract the attention of the apartheid government, the PW Porter. I said, no, I'm selling cosmetics. If PW Porter comes to me, they can say, well, I'm selling cosmetics. And you look at our messaging all the time was to encourage people to really be the best they could be. We spend money in our communities. Our marketing was actually on social justice, making sure that we spend money in communities that really supported us. And instead of traditional marketing, spending a lot of money on expensive campaigns. No, you go and really touch the lives of the lived experiences of the people. And the very same principle we are using in politics. I'm aware what our people are going through. I'm a privileged South African today living in Sandton, but I've got relatives in Alexander, in Soweto, in Haramut, in Amaskral, where I was born and raised, in Tembisa. Lots of Mashabas are there in Tembisa, Harankua. I know their lived experiences, and I'm saying to myself, no, this is not... this life that I live in Sandton, this is not a normal life. Let me use my privileged position to see if I can liberate them, give them true liberation. But I want them to understand true liberation is going to really happen when you have an accountable government. I'm teaching our people to say, please, use our constitution to vote politicians in. Teach yourself to vote them out when they vote, when they fail you. And the beauty about the South African constitutional framework is that we have an opportunity every 2.5 years. We can punish political parties. Like, look at what happened now last year in November with the local government elections, what we did to the ANC. And in just 2 years, under 2 years, we go into national elections. I'm calling upon the youth. I'm calling upon South Africans who are unemployed. The 13 million South Africans unemployed. 13 million. 46% of our people, 74% of our youth are unemployed.
Yes.
We're the murder capital of the world. We're the rape capital of the world. I'm saying to our women who are being raped, our people who are being murdered every day. I'm saying to our people whose shops are being taken by people who we don't know who they are in this country. You know what? Put in a government that you can hold accountable, but don't really give them the mandate for 28 years. You know, every second 2.5 years, when a politician does not perform, kick them out. Because politics is not about creating employment opportunities for people. It's about saving society. It's a calling. But what we've done as South Africans, the mistake we've made, but we can correct it, and we are going to correct it. We let the politicians think that they are gods. But obviously, I think if you look at communist systems all over the world, from 1917 with the Russian Communist Party, you look at China after with the Mao, you look at Fidel Castro, you look at the Venezuela. You know, the people worship these politicians as if they are small gods. You know, politician is a public servant.
It's not servant leadership anymore.
No, you know, but it's our society that is allowing this. We don't actually realize the power of our vote, that we can remove politicians, we can put politicians into power. And we must never make the mistake like the Zimbabweans have made, where you allow these politicians to change the constitution, give themselves too much power, because it might be late. Look at what has happened in Zimbabwe right now. By the time the Zimbabweans woke up to the evil deeds of Mugabe, it was already too late. It already was already in charge of the armed forces and the brutality, human rights abuses, and so forth. So in this country, our constitution is still in place. Just last night, I'm actually quite excited as a political party, the only political party that was going to take the Department of Health to court about this regulations.
Yes. Thank you so much for that.
You know.
Thank you very much.
So, because they knew they were going to lose. I mean, the court date, it's already set, I think, for the 19th of July. Now they've realized that we're going to lose. Now last night at 11 o'clock, just before I go to bed, I see breaking news. So I've already issued a statement, and I've requested our legal people this morning to watch the Department of Health to make sure that they remove all the restrictions, because all those restrictions are infringing on our human rights.
Yes,
because
that's true.
It gives them powers to operate outside the constitution. And I'm proud as a only political party that's not represented in parliament that was going to go to court with the AfriForum.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's the first time I think I've been so quiet for so long.
I'm surprised to hear you quiet. I'm like, why Penuel Tulile?
Yes, you never know when you've got someone coming to speak here, the type of person they are. Bob Mashaba could just give an answer and keep quiet, and then we ask. Because I've got so many questions, and I realize he's going to have to come back.
No, ask.
No, I'm just thinking, just the story of it, Black Like Me, obviously part of it feels like it's inspired by Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud in America. The story of Black Like Me will probably take 2 hours on its own. I don't know if he knows, but he's somewhat of a controversial figure in politics, because Skhuluma ngoNhlanhla Lux today is Skhuluma ngo Gates and McKenzie and the Patriotic Alliance, but he almost pioneered this whole thing of we need to clean up the buildings and get rid of illegal foreigners. he was doing it.
And
now they're caught on that, and a lot of them use it for campaigning.
I was insulted. I was asked to apologize. I said, apologize for what?
Yes.
And yeah, everyone, including, in fact, even the Minister of Home Affairs, Aaron Motsoaledi, who actually took him to Parliament on the 22nd of October 2019, and still he was calling me xenophobic.
Yes, and he's Parliament. Right, and he's pushing now.
And everyone is like, because what I did, I put my foot down. I studied our constitution. I looked at our immigration laws, and I said, no, I'm not going to allow the insults of people who are beneficiaries of this criminality to silence me. And
thank you very much. I have to put a disclaimer. I voted Action SA at the local elections. I really wanted you to be mayor again. I'm a big fan of servant leadership. I don't like politics officially. I think politics is one of the cancers of our country, regardless of who it is. But I was looking at the work you were doing. I'm looking at the work that Gayton McKenzie is doing in the Karoo. Again, to what you're saying, when people are like, no, we're going to need 5 years to show change, within 70 days, he's already done so much, which that's why I agree with every 2 years, if someone is not serving the people, they must go. I've got questions around what you think about the DA, because there have been accusations of it just uses black puppets, and maybe they saw you as one of those. And when you actually came as someone who's like, no, I have a standpoint, and I know how to respect other black people that I work with, whether it's an EFF, we may disagree ideologically, but if there's a part where we agree on certain work, why can't I work with these people? Is it really competing while we're trying to serve the people? And then I obviously wanted to speak when you were speaking about clever blacks. I think you and I have a mutual friend, Rob Hersoff. I've met with him twice. He's spoken about you very fondly. People always wonder about being captured, and I wanted to hear your thoughts. And look, I'm only saying this as a precursor that I think we're going to need more time, because these are conversations that when you start, Mashaba, he goes. He's actually become a politician.
And I like, he goes, and I like that because we're on a podcast platform.
Yeah.
There are no ads or music coming on. So he can go on. I think it's up to me.
Manji schedule Saki, unfortunately, because he's a busy man. Yeah. But he's going to have to come back, please. So we need to discuss black people that are captured. We need to speak about Rob, because I've been accused of being captured because I've taken photos with him. We need to speak about black unity when you speak about multi-party, because everyone believes we need one black political party to change. And then I believe you are non-racialist. How you feel about that with Action SA? The success of Action SA reminds me of Barack Obama's campaigns, because they didn't have as big a budget as the Republicans back then, but they strategically used social media to win. And I also wanted to note, did Action SA use a similar strategy? Because they were everywhere. That's when you start thinking, am I black like me, or are there white people at the back pumping? How do they get so big and such? Or is it just a mini DA?
Because actually, even after the elections, there were a lot of reports of a lot of people saying Mr. Mashaba is actually not in leadership.
Sure, he's just the face, which is always going to be the accusation, which is why we appreciated it when the DA fought him, because it was like, no, this is actually showing that he's not a puppet. He can say, but guys, this is wrong. I don't agree with this. I understand the party, but we are trying to serve the people.
Let me tell you something about Rob Hersoff.
Hey, shout out to Rob Hersoff. No, I think I'm going to go meet him in Cape Town soon, and he must come back here.
It's important. I think I've met him. I've met Rob once in person in Cape Town.
Yes.
But obviously prior to that, I engaged him. We were engaging on the phone and so forth, and he invited me to speak at one of his platforms. And because at the time we were just forming the political party, I said, Rob, I'm happy to speak, but you've got to pay for my time. And I said, what can you offer? I said, it's up to you. And donated 20,000 rands
solid
for me to really speak at his function. And that's all Action SA has ever received from Rob Hersoff.
Have you heard him speak about you though?
Yes, I've heard.
Because he speaks as if he's one of your capturers.
Yes.
And
so
Rob does this
now
thing.
If anyone can capture me with 20,000 rands, so then
that means you're very cheap.
Then I'm very.
I want to say this, Mr. Mashaba. Rob, in the times I've met him, and I hope you'll watch this interview, he comes from a deep media background. I mean, working for Rupert Murdoch at Fox, working for Anton Rupert when they built pay TV. This is a guy who understands media and propaganda. But when you speak to him, he's like, no, I don't care about these things. I hate stat capture. But I feel he strategically knows when he mentioned things like we've got good guys like Herman Mashaba and Musi Maimani. Now, the layman out there is like, oh, Shutu Herman is obviously Mosi Project, Yabo Rob and the boys. And it comes across that way. And that's how you get captured. Like I said, I've taken 2 pictures with him. And since then, I'm a puppet. All of a sudden, now I don't, which I think speaks to the black psychological inferiority that we need to break. That it can't be that every time I sit with someone, I sit here, action essay, I voted for Ubab Mashaba to carry on with the work he was doing. So that means your action essay. That means you're captured. That means you're Rob's boy. It's like, we're actually trying to serve people. That's what Nhlanhla and them are trying to do. That's what Gates and McKinsey is doing. Yes, we're using vehicles. It can be an action essay. It can be a patriotic alliance. It can be an operation Tudula. It can be a religion like Penuelism. But fundamentally, we're trying to serve. And yes, we don't want to be gods, even though I call myself God. We don't want to be gods. We want people to understand that they are the gods and they must rise up and be able to become industrialists. I was saying before we came here that the apartheid government had an ESCOM built for 8% of the population. Black people are 80%. A visionary government would have seen early that we need to build 10 ESCOMs just to service these people. We need. So for me, and I don't know, maybe this will be my first question to Ubab Mashaba. Where have we lost it in building black industrialists? And do you think that we need more, specifically black, maybe some Indian Guptas, and other white business people to actually come into politics and fix some of these things and stop waiting for career politicians who are only there for tax money?
Look, Penuel and let me give you something that obviously captured in my books and something that black people of my time know exactly how I started Black Like Me. Let me really help South Africans to really understand that there's no black money, there's no white money. This white monopoly capital, it's what people are misled to believe. When I conceived the idea of Black Like Me in 1984, realized there's huge opportunity. But I did not really have the technical know-how to make this product. And I was determined that, no, I'm not going to be a distributor for other companies. No, I want to make this product myself. At the time, I was a commission sales rep for a company in Malvern East. They had a brand called Supercal. And I said, no, I'm not going to make money for this guy. I've got to make this product. The first guy I approached to make the product for me there was one black guy who was in the compounding. So I approached him, Peter. I wanted to test to see if he knows what he's talking about, only to realize, no, Peter unfortunately can't be our manufacturing director. So he does not really understand what he's doing. He's a compounder.
Sure.
You know what? I had nothing to lose. At the time, I was making 3,500, 4,000 rands in commission in 1983, 84. I mean, it was a lot of money.
Sure.
To lose that, I was taking a hell of a gamble. I approached a white Afrikaner from Boksburg, Johan Krill. That is what entrepreneurship entails. We have the bravery and the intensity to do what is right. I approached this guy one day. I obviously made friends with him, preparing him to really test to see. One day I broke the news to him. I said, Johan, Joseph and I we can sell this product, because I was the top salesman on commission, earning more than twice his salary as a white person and a production manager. And I said, Johan, you can make this stuff. He was a chemist. I said, you can make this stuff. Joseph and I can sell it. Can we go and make it ourselves? So you can imagine approaching a white guy in 1984, guys. I mean, It was a hell of a gamble. It was like almost tantamount to treason.
Yes.
But I had nothing to lose. I said, if this guy doesn't accept and this owner fires me, that's fine. I'll go and look for something. But because I had the bravery and the courage to take a chance, Johan bought into my dream. And I started Black Like Me with 25% share, with Johan 25%, Joseph 25%, and then we had to approach a funder. We needed 30,000 rands. We did our exercise. We needed 30,000 rands. Approached a very successful known businessman called Walter Dube in Mabopane. We said, Mr. Dube, we found a machine to print money legally.
Come on.
We do finance us. Two meetings. Walter Dube bought into our business. And starting in a 200 square meter factory with 200, this blue 200-liter drums, manual stirrers, putting products in the bottle by hand. Yes. So we started. Got my wife to resign from Sutton Sons head office as a junior bookkeeper. Started the four of us. By 1990, I'd already built my own factory in Mabopane, state-of-the-art factory that cost me over 10 million rands. I did not owe anyone.
In what year?
By 1990.
1990.
Yeah. I had a huge factory employing 250, 300 people.
That's impressive.
Why I used to have white people coming to work, those with the skills, because I was not really looking people in terms of the color of their skin. I was looking at skills.
Sure.
So I had white people coming to Mabopane to come and work. And they trained our people. I'm so proud. In fact, one of the guys who's still with our business, Ronald, she's been with us from university. He's actually the brand manager of our business from Tembisa, actually. You know, these are the guys who had really trained by everyone, because I didn't obviously bring these white guys to exploit them. I brought them because they had value to add to my business. But who were the beneficiaries? 75% of the business was black owned, and Johan was our partner and treated him as a partner until he sold in 1993. And by then he had already trained Dan Powe. Dan even today still works in our business, in our production. He's a chemist. From university, he's never worked for anyone. He's married. He lives in a. He lives in a suburb. In fact, I believe he's got grandchildren by now. He's one of the great chemists. But when we took him from university at the time, he didn't know anything. But Johan was there and he trained them. So today,
apprenticeship.
So I'm saying is the mistake we made was to bring people who have never been trained even in running the army. Because one thing you must understand with Mkondo Wesizwe and those guys who were in exile, they were not really trained to run a military operation.
Yes.
They were trained to disrupt.
Yes.
That's what they were trained in, guerrilla warfare, not to run a professional army.
100%.
And then you get them in overnight, you make them generals and whatever.
That same mindset.
Yeah, because the Russians trained them to disrupt. They don't really know. So that's a mistake that we've made. Instead of actually taking advantage of what I call white monopoly capital, which in fact I think I make reference to in this book, when I was reclaiming these buildings in the inner city. I encouraged black entrepreneurs. I said, guys, go and look for money from this so-called white monopoly capital to be your partners, because they need to be. But
work
they
with
can
them,
collaborate with them. But don't really do it just because it's BE. Do it so that you can learn over time. They'll bring the money, make it, give them a deal they can't refuse.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you will learn 5-10 years down the line. And please don't just go in and before you in fact even execute the first building, you're already driving a Range Rover. So that's a mistake you will make.
There's something you said about as a capitalist, the car can't afford. And I heard this Buddha saying, no, you can afford it. And I was impressed because it speaks to your knowledge of numbers. There's something about knowing what you can and can't afford, not because you don't have the money, but because you know within your lane what makes sense and what doesn't. I think for me, more importantly, this question was twofold, the industrialist question. You've got a young guy who's building a beverage company, who's been inspired by people like yourself at Black Like Me, building more fire, who wants to know more from people like you. Uti Baba, how do we carry on your legacy? So advice to him and people like him. We've had young people here on this platform speaking about the businesses they're building. And then the second one is, how do we find a way to collaborate with you directly in Black Like Me and any other businesses you have, so that even now, we're not only going to white monopoly capital for funding, we go to you and other Walter Dubes of the time to be like, we've got ideas, we've got energy, we want to work, help us build more fire, help us buy shares in Black Like Me so that your legacy lives on and we can expand beyond what it is now to make it a fully global brand that it was always meant to be?
I think what's important, I remember after the dawn of our new democracy, after I sold my business to Colgate, I had a little bit of time to run sessions, for Black entrepreneurs so that we can take learnings. I'm not an expert in business. I mean, I learn every day.
I think you're an expert, but okay.
No,
Sure.
definitely not an expert. I mean, I learn on the job. I mean, the only time when I got into business, the only business I've ever ran was to be an oxman. I don't come from a family which ran business. I come from a very poor family with my mother working as a domestic worker. So
Sure.
I'm happy to really engage people as and when I get a time. But obviously, I'm in such a brutal world. But I think it's important when you've got such very strong brands where what to do. Please, when you run business, don't expect don't make that mistake going to people, ask them for their support. No. No.
Create value.
Create value.
Boom.
Give value to the person. It must not be about you. Mustn't be about them. Tell them the value that they're going to get from
Don't
your
beg
business.
them.
No, because
They must come to you because they need something that you have.
absolute. And give them something that the people must feel comfortable to buy your product. But once you start asking for favors, that's where you make a mistake because you relax.
Yeah.
Then people, how many times have I had people come in to me to says, Mr. Mashaba, please help us. And I said, let's look at your business plan. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, the first line in the business is that they want to start business to create jobs. Oh my God.
That's what they all say, by the way.
What nonsense is this?
That's what they all say.
I said, no.
I'm trying to create jobs.
Create jobs. What nonsense is this? Businesses don't no normal, sane businessman will go into business to create jobs. Jobs, it's a byproduct of, because you need people to work for you. I don't need government to tell me I must look after staff. That's
Yes.
why I can tell you I've got people who've worked for me for 25, 20 years and so forth. I don't need government to tell me I must look after them.
Yes.
And you must learn also, those who don't add value in your life, you must learn to get rid of them. That's why I'm a
Capitalist.
yeah, and I fight I fight this unfair labor practices in our country where
Yes.
they are forcing you someone costing you more than what they
bring into
they
the
bring
company.
into the business. It becomes difficult. But when they want to leave, they leave you without even giving you notice. But when you must fire them, I think we must make it easy for people to find employment, and you don't need government to tell you that you must look after people. But when people don't add value, government must allow you fairly. I'm not obviously, I think, do it in an unfair manner. But you must be able to really get rid of people, because what will happen if you don't want an exploitation of your people? Create full employment, so that there's a shortage of labor. Because when there's a shortage of labor, like anything in economics, if there's a shortage of a product, the price goes up. The very same thing in an environment where there's shortage of labor. People will, the prices will go up. Because you know what? When in an environment where there's a shortage of labor, you're going to be forced to look after people, pay them well, look after them, because for you to produce a good quality product, that means you need well-trained people, well-experienced people. And you cannot afford to train someone for 5 years and tomorrow they leave you because someone else is giving them 1,000 rands more. So you always have to really be proactive in ensuring that you keep good people around you. You don't need government to tell you that. And that's why this communists who've never run anything in their lives, they've never worked for anything to produce. They can't even sell, I'm telling you, they can't sell potatoes in a country where they are the only potato manufacturers. They can't.
So you are against cadre deployment, no?
Oh, if you want to really destroy your country, like what has happened, it's using the cadres. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw the other day, on Monday, I was announcing our Action SA provincial leader in Limpopo, and I said to Mr. Lidikha, who is our provincial leader in Limpopo, I said to him, because I had warned him before the press conference, he was talking about comrades. I said, Mr. Lidikha, here in Action SA, this term comrade is banned.
Jeez.
No, it's banned. No, please don't. And ANC yesterday issued a statement, Pulemabe issued a statement about Herman Mashaba being insensitive. I'm telling you, comrade is banned in this thing, because for me, in the 38 years of our democracy, comrades have only seen corruption, thieves, communists, and I don't really believe in any of those. So I'm saying to actioners, please, I don't want in my presence to be calling one another comrades, because it brings bad memories to me. So ANC, the road issued a statement. So it's interesting. I mean, they don't realize I always take advantage of coming out with things that will resonate with people, because one thing for sure, you can look at social media, how people are angry right now. I see they've started the hashtag I'm no Kader. Yeah, no,
jeez.
I haven't seen it.
Oh no, just check.
Sure.
Hashtag I'm no Kader.
You know,
no Kader.
I hope you guys appreciate us calling you guys squatters and hustlers. Let us
instead
know
of
if you're not happy.
Mr. Mashaba, I think when you come back, I'd like us to unpack communism, socialism, capitalism, because a lot of our viewers, they don't understand these political terms. I don't think school is doing a good job of that. I personally have huge issues with capitalism in particular because of the type of people it attracts. I wanted to ask you, because this is a question I've asked other successful people, if you think, is it possible for capitalism to actually uplift everyone in this country? Or do you think it's actually built for a minority and everyone else should look into something else? I ask this because the same communist nations you don't like, the Russias, the Chinas, they've built their economies from slave labor. This South Africa we're enjoying today is a product of an apartheid government and colonization, which enslaved the majority of black people. And now you're speaking about labor practices, which is a big fight, that labor can be too expensive, you might hire too many people. But the only way for South Africa, in my opinion, my humble opinion, South Africa can become a great economic nation is either we enslave ourselves as the majority and work for cheap, or we enslave another nation elsewhere and then we become the higher level. I want to ask you, because it's one of the things I've grappled with. Can we fully become a capitalist nation, or should we isolate capitalism to maybe 30-40% of the nation and let the rest of the people be subsistence farmers, just basic traders, etc.?
Fortunately enough, I've written a book about 8 years ago called Capitalist Crusade. I don't know if you've read
Yes,
that
sir, I've
book.
heard of it. Yeah, I haven't finished it.
I will. I'll see if I've got copies. If not, I will order. So
Thank you so much.
By the time you interview me, you've got a deep understanding what.
So
I
you're
mean
coming
by
back. Thank you very much.
So that we can talk about
Yes.
capital. What do I mean by capitalism?
Yes.
Because you can imagine someone with a social conscience. I've spent more money in our communities, in our country, than communists, so-called communists.
I can believe you. I can fully believe it. A lot of these people are fake in what they claim to stand for.
Because one thing I've learned, and I was really lucky when I started Black Like Me, I made more money than what my family can consume, and I did not really put money into things that I don't need.
I like that very much.
You'll never find me having more than one car at a time.
I like that very much.
Look at the car I'm driving now is what, 8 years old? And
it's a very pretty car, though.
And that car is going this car is going to last me probably another 5-7 years or whatever, you know.
Yes.
And only one car. I can't drive more than one.
I love that very much.
And I'm a capitalist. That's why I gave you an example earlier on. When I go into a restaurant, they give me a wine list. You know, I take out the one where I feel I'll get value for my money.
100%.
I don't go for the most expensive. You know, I've been into restaurant with this politicians, communists.
My comrades, my
oh my God! These guys have got really very expensive taste. I mean, I've been to some of these guys' houses where they run a party. The whole party is run on champagne, Moet. The whole, my goodness! I'm telling you, in my life, I've never spent a cent of my life to buy Moet. I can't afford it.
Sure,
Oh, no,
I like that very much.
Oh, no, I can't.
Yeah.
So if
it's not a money thing.
If you can find Moet in my house, you must know someone gave it to me on a gift. From time to time, you get a gift, maybe your birthday or something.
Like you brought us books today.
Yeah, no. So that's the only time you can find Moet in my house. I can't afford that. Yeah. You know, there's so many great South African the champagnes I can drink at honestly 25%.
I love that
of
very
the
much.
price.
Proudly South African.
So that is the kind of capitalism I'm talking about.
Okay.
And fortunate enough, my family have got a tradition and history spanning close to 40 years of community involvement during the dark days of this country's history. We money that we believe that we can spend in communities. We've really been a socially conscious environment because I come from that in environment. So instead of actually spending money on things that I don't really need. So that is a kind of capitalism I'm talking about.
And
what I'm pushing is government to leave me alone. Please don't ask me for cold drinks when instead of assisting to create a conducive environment for me to work. Don't come out with laws and laws and laws. Every time you want to solve a matter, you pass a legislation.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you will destroy this country. Look at capitalist countries. Tell me, have you heard of an American running away to Cuba?
No.
Look at Cuba since 1959. I mean, how many people that died crossing with Fidel Castro refusing, them to leave. Look at the Chinese in 1949, 45 after the Second World War when they took over. Look at the Russians since 1917. People are running away from. Why do you think poor people are running away from communist countries? And communist countries actually stop them, whereas in so-called capitalist societies, people travel all over the world, but you'll never get someone to say, "Look, you know what? I'm tired of living in the United States. I'm going to live in Cuba."
With that being said as well, let me just mention, not every capitalist is like you. Like, for instance, right now, you're getting a lot of people complain about big global multinationals, especially the ones that are part of the World Economic Forum, lobbying lobbying for countries' sovereignties so they're able to action some sort of control in terms of emergencies like what we've just had, a pandemic right now. And a lot of people are saying these guys are actually trying to control us at some point.
They definitely are.
So not every capitalist
has a social consciousness aspect.
That is why you need a country that respects the rule of law. You need committed public servants so that if there are wrongs in society, there must be consequences. There must be consequences.
Can I ask one more cheeky question before Baba leaves?
His team is saying
no, we have
time
to go.
is gone. Maybe just one
I want to ask
slip in just one more.
Please feel free not to answer it.
Yeah, no. There's not.
Please feel free.
No, I'll answer.
How do you feel about Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency and what's happened now at Phala?
Well, I think Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency was the worst that this country has ever seen in the 400 years.
Jeez, that's a lot.
No. I know the history of this country.
Okay.
Look at all the presidents, even when we as black people were not
in charge.
In charge. Look at all these presidents, and then let's then take it to 1994. To be fair, under a democratic dispensation, we had Mandela. We had Thabo Mbeki, we briefly had
Motlanthe.
Motlanthe briefly, then we had Jacob Zuma, then Cyril. Honestly, I think under Cyril, it's a free-for-all. I mean, corruption under Cyril Ramaphosa right now
Yes.
is the highest in this country than during Jacob Zuma.
The 9 wasted
And,
years.
yeah, no, the 9 wasted years. He was actually in charge of those 9 wasted years.
He was head of business, yeah.
He was the one actually entrusted the responsibility to look after ESCOM. When the Guptas were looting, Cyril Ramaphosa was the head, appointed officially in December 2014 by Jacob Zuma, SA Airways, and so forth. So all these things happen right under his watch. I mean, this there's money laundering. I think this one is actually quite embarrassing. Just 2 days ago, I watched one of the international TV programs, and there were half an hour dedicated to South Africa's corruption levels. And how do you expect the president of the country with such inequality? 54% of our people live below the breadline. 13 million people are unemployed. Youth unemployment at 74%. You've got a president who just made billions without creating anything.
Overnight.
He's a billionaire. But over and above that, he's dealing in foreign currency. And he does not believe in our banking system. But in this country, you are not allowed to deal in big cash.
Yes.
South African rands.
Yes.
Here's a president who's dealing in US dollars. Are you aware in the United States, no US citizen can leave or enter United States with 10,000 US dollars in cash? No United States person. You declare. When you come, whether you're a US citizen or whatever, they ask you in their forms, do you have you cannot enter United States with 10,000 US dollars in cash. Now here it's our president, we're talking about between $4 and $8 million
US dollars.
Using mattresses. No, I mean, it's okay. Secondly, making matters really even worse is that the president gets money stolen from him, and then he comes to us and says he did not steal any money. 2 years later, he did not report this matter to the law enforcement agencies of which he's the head. Instead, he uses the mafia type of gangsters to go and look for someone like, we're in Colombia in the 70s during Pablo's time. He's become another Pablo.
Yeah.
He must have learned from Pablo to look at,
Here's a joke, I do the same. To go get $4 million.
Thank you very much, sir.
So I think it's really very embarrassing. It makes me, as a South African, really very angry, very disappointing. We thought Jacob Zuma was a thief, and he is. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I think what Cyril Ramaphosa has done, it's really very disappointing. It's a reflection not on South Africa. It's a reflection on us as a black race.
Yeah.
Cyril Ramaphosa has done a huge damage to us as black race. Guys, let me tell you something which I'm sure you're aware. White people for many years never trusted us as black people to do the right things.
Yes.
That's why they subjected us to slavery, they subjected us to apartheid and so forth, because they can't trust a black person to govern, and a black man is not trustworthy. And, we were lucky in 1994, Nelson Mandela came and actually restored our dignity. We became the envy of the world. And I thought that message, ANC will take it to the next level. Today, South Africa is actually a scum of the world. And the current president, my grandchildren actually, are going to pay the price for this, because you can be anywhere as a black person. You say you're from South Africa. You can be anywhere in the world.
Yes.
People are going to look at you and with suspicion, like you're another Cyril Ramaphosa.
Jeez. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. We appreciate you. I'm looking forward to part 2
It's a must. He said he's coming back. I think he confirmed on camera.
Yeah,
We've got the evidence.
You let me know when, and I'll try and. I don't think I've got copies of the Capitalist Crusader. It would be lovely for you to read it so that you have a deeper
Thank you.
understanding of
Thank you.
what I mean by capitalism.
We promise you would have read both books.
Yeah.
This one I'm going to delve into it. I'm going to start it this week, if not tonight. And if we can just get ourselves a Capitalist Crusader as well.
Our own Oprah Winfrey. Free books for everyone.
No, thank you so much, and really appreciate. Always a pleasure. Not just really talking to you. What you guys actually do for our country. It is through young people like yourselves that, you know what, you can open the eyes of fellow black South Africans who are subjected to misery, being made to live like pigs by a new democratic dispensation. You give us hope, and I mean, Subu, I've watched you from the days of when you started to.
But Mashaba knows
that is creativity, you know, and I'm really so glad that I think you're always creating, doing something that can create awareness and create excitement. Keep doing it. Don't allow anyone to. Actually, the more people criticize you, the more they must build you up.
Boom.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Honorable Mr. Herman Mashaba. We're looking forward to part 2. We'll see you on the next video. Maybe your last words, sir. And then maybe your last words. And then number 2, just 3 books that you would please recommend to our entrepreneurs out there. Which camera, guys? That camera over there.
Well, I think...
your voters first, yeah.
Okay. No, you know, fellow South Africans, please let us free this country and free ourselves. Use your vote to register to vote and go and vote for a political party of your choice. But please exercise that vote. Don't ever underestimate yourself. In a constitutional democracy, as human beings, South Africans, we are so fortunate to live under a democratic dispensation. If you don't watch it, we will lose it and our country will be taken over by criminals. In terms of the books that you must read, there's so many books that I've read. You know, for me, I read to a large extent books I read biographies and autobiographies of human beings. That's how I've learned. You can come home to my study and I've got thousands of books, and probably 50% of them are biographies of soccer stars, athletes, business people, politicians, and so forth. So I think it's up to you to really decide. I'm an avid reader. You look at just in my house, I've got 2 studies. I've got thousands of books.
Wow.
And I read
and you're a human library yourself. Thank you very much for coming to educate us. It really means a lot.
Even at the office, I was privileged to interview Mr. Mashaba's wife at the offices. I was still doing a business show for CNBC Africa. And when I was interviewing her at the office, you could just see books.
Yeah.
Like, thank you very much, sir.
No, thank you so much, and keep doing the good work, and I shall await your next invitation.
Thank you so much.
See you guys on the next video.
This is the Hustler's Corner.